Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I want to quickly run through a 20 or 30-minute video where we use over the cap salary cap calculator to dig the Pittsburgh Steelers out of their $19 million hole. Now, of course, this is based on if the salary cap is around $185 million, which of course it could be anywhere between 180 to 188. As of right now, they haven't actually figured out the number. So Pittsburgh might be more in the range of $23 million under the cap, not necessarily just 19. So that's a lot of money you have to dig yourself out of. If you're Pittsburgh, of course, opened the year, it was 11 consecutive wins, and everything kind of went to hell after that. They do plan on bringing Ben back. Art Rooney released a statement saying that they want to have Ben back. They understand that there has to be some negotiating of the contract. Ben's current salary cap hit for this year, I think it's over $40 million. That just won't right at this point in Ben's career. He's not worth that kind of hit. And Pittsburgh just cannot afford to take that hit if they want to be competitive and feel a competitive team this year. So let's start. Let's see what we can do immediately. I'm looking at Ben. If we can restructure him there, that doesn't change much. So this is the issue because of the year it's in. And PS Pittsburgh has kicked back this cap number. So long we could cut him here. But realistically, you're not going to get a better option unless you sign Andy Dalton. And I've said this over and over again. Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston are going to be two really cheap options and two really good options for teams that have veteran quarterbacks who are past their primes or just need a quarterback in general. So I think Andy Dalton would make a lot of sense for Pittsburgh. You can get him there. He could play in Cincinnati twice a year, which would be would be very interesting to see that happen. But so Ben, I'm Ben's serious cut candidate here, despite everything that Rooney has said, despite everything they've said so far. Now, the other option, this is more technical. I don't know if I'm really qualified to do this or if I can get this to work, is that they would extend him for multiple years and then restructure the contract so he's taking a lot less money this year and more in the future. And essentially kick that ball down, keep the issue down a couple of years. I think either way, this all starts with Ben Roethlisberger fixing this cap situation. If you're wanting to get guys like Matt Fowler back, if you want to get Mike Hilton back, certainly, maybe Cam Sutton as well. And you want to get some of these free guys who are free agents over here back on the roster. And you can't do that in this situation. And you have to draft great this year, otherwise you're really going to be in a hole. You're not going to make the playoffs. Or you might miss the playoffs unless you're Pittsburgh this coming year, just depending on how Ben plays. This is probably going to be a floor 8-8 team. Could be at a peak, at a ceiling, I think a 12-win team. So somewhere between 8 to 12-win range, maybe 7-9 is the worst they go, because that defense is still very good, even despite losing a couple of free agents here. And, I still think that if you want to make a serious threat here, Ben has to take a lot less money to get this to work. But we'll address that in a minute. Right now, let's just get through the basics of doing everything we can to restructure some of the big names here. See what we can save. $4.5 million from restructuring Stephon Tuitt. Pouncey retired, so I don't know why he's still in the system right now for this, because this will open up money if he. But I can't do much about that. So we just have to work around this for now. We have to work around him being on the roster and see what we can restructure. And these contracts, with the Saints, you restructured and save a ton of money with the Saints when you went through this exercise the other day. I think almost $30 million in savings when you restructured everything. It's not looking like you're going to be able to make that kind of money back to Pittsburgh. You're not finding any really players you can restructure and save significant money on because of where they are in the contracts and how you've structured the contracts to begin with. But you'll take any kind of restructuring money you can get. So we've restructured stuff on Tuitt. We've restructured Chris Boswell. You could create. I can't even do that with Pouncey. He's obviously not playing for Pittsburgh next year. He's retired. So this is this is a bit of a problem. How do you get through? We're at $13 million now. It could be even more than that, depending on how or what number the actual salary cap comes in at. So we structured. It doesn't make sense because he's on a rookie contract. I understand that, but looking around, who will you restructure? A lot of these guys are on rookie contracts. So it means you cut guys. If you're cutting guys on rookie contracts, you're not saving a ton of money in that sense. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go through with that and cut players on rookie deals. You could cut guys towards the back end of the roster and save a little money here and there, but that's not going to make a significant dent in what you had to fix here. So You can go through and you can remove some guys who haven't played necessarily big roles in the team in recent years or just don't. Not that they don't matter, but comparatively to the starters, the guys you could potentially pay or re-sign, if you have that kind of money, they're not as important as those guys. And this is what I'm saying. Pittsburgh, to me, is a much more difficult situation to envision getting under the salary cap than the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints are much deeper in the red. But with Pittsburgh, I mean, with the Saints, you can restructure almost half of their debt under the salary cap right now. You can just restructure it in contracts. You can't do that with Pittsburgh. I mean, we restructured how much money? Maybe, what was the number? I forget how much they came in under us, but we barely restructured any money here. We haven't made much at all comparatively to what you can do if you're looking at New Orleans Saints. So in these situations, it comes down to, well, you got to extend guys. You have to now kick that ball further down the road. You don't want to really be cutting anyone at this point. I mean, look at these guys. The tier 2 players in the New Orleans Saints, you cut a guy like Latavius Murray, who's in the second group of guys getting paid on the Saints, and get a lot of money back. You can't do that with Pittsburgh's players in the second group. Those guys are Terrell Evans, Mick Fitzpatrick, Chase Claypool, James Washington. Guys are on their second contracts, and that top heavy group for Pittsburgh is a lot thicker than it is, I think, for the Saints. Because you got Cameron Hayward all the way up to here, and Cameron Hayward, I believe, has recently restructured his contract. I don't know if they have put that in the system yet or not. Well, I know he's restructured. I think he restructured his contract, or they did something to his contract recently where he saved a little extra money. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of options here with how you can potentially save money in these guys. And of course, we're working around Marquise Pouncey, who retired. So I don't know. Actually, let me look at this, because I think how it works is that money, they still take the dead cap hit for retired players. I know that you can't, when they retire, they don't technically get wiped off of your books. When they retire, I think you take the dead cap hit for that year. In Pouncey, they're saying the dead cap hit here is about $6.5 million if you cut him. So I would just, man, if you cut him, if you retire, you're still taking the dead cap hit. So either way, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to cut him here for the sake of the exercise, because it hasn't been updated yet to him not being in. So now this is much more manageable. With him retiring, he actually helps Pittsburgh out quite a bit, because you're around $5 million under the salary, or $5 million over the salary cap. And that brings us all back to, what do you do about guys like Joe Hayden, who are getting up there in age? What do you do against about a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, who you might just be able to cut, and you flat out cut Ben? Suddenly you're $14 million over the cap. And again, this is a generous cap. It could be right around $80 million instead. I mean, $180 million instead of $185. So you're going to need to be able to create that extra wiggle room there. And cutting Ben saves a lot of money. The question is, you have to spend a lot of it then for getting either James Winston or Andy Dalton, maybe Cam Newton. I don't think he would really fit behind Pittsburgh's offensive line, given the way it was, given the offensive system they ran in New England this past year. I think that the players are going to fit most in Pittsburgh's current system, where it's just aired out, throw it deep at this point, go deep, Chase Claypool, work Deontay Johnson over the middle, try to get these guys as involved as possible. Someone like Andy Dalton, who's coming out of Mike McCarthy's system in Dallas, or even, I said, James Winston, working with Bruce Arians and Sean Payton. I think those two would be the better fit of the veteran free agent trio of Newton, Dalton, and Winston to fit the system and immediately replace Ben Roethlisberger. So this is one initial way you could potentially solve this problem. And get rid of Ben, and we're golden. You're right, gaming with you. I'm sorry I missed your comments, man. Hopefully you come back and see me. I'm sorry. You come in at 143, it's 146, and I see you're no longer watching. You're out of the chat. But thank you again for stopping by a little bit. I'm doing pretty good, but it's getting a little warmer here in New Jersey. We still can't see the ground. The snow is still about a couple inches thick on the ground, but it's warming up, heating up. That snow's melting. So hopefully we hit in the spring here actually in a little bit. So we can cut Ben and save quite a lot of money. You could cut Joe Hayden, which I wouldn't recommend, but you could do that. And you could also get you into the green there, get past the salary cap. You could cut a guy like David Castro, who helps well, but again, you can't really afford to do that. I mean, how many good offensive linemen are left in this team right now? Just one. It's David DeCastro. Alejandro Villanueva, the left tackle, is a free agent. Pouncey's retired. Matt Filer, who's your guard, is a free agent. And your right tackle, whose name I'm going to butcher, I'm just going to say Okafor's last name. So I know I've heard his real name said on broadcast, and I'll still get it wrong, so I'm not even going to bother trying to say that. But I think you had him playing a little bit of right tackle. I know it says left tackle. I'm pretty sure he lined up at right tackle for a little bit this year, and that just didn't go very well. So David Castro realistically is your best offensive lineman left in your team at this point. I don't think you can afford to cut him. Steven Nelson was not nearly as good this past year as he was in 2019. So if we're going to see a corner move, maybe him, but he's a lot younger than Joe Hayden. That's the issue. If age is an issue. Joe Hayden really rebounded with Pittsburgh, really helped his career turn the right direction after that end to his time with Cleveland, where he was dealing with injuries. He got cut. Excuse me. He got cut. Came to Pittsburgh back in 2017. And has been good with the franchise ever since. Was a Pro Bowler in 2019. Not as good as past year, but still an impactful player. So I think getting rid of Joe Hayden would be kind of ludicrous to me. Oh, there you are. I'm in Colorado. Glad Joe took some of the snow off our hands this winter. Yeah, man, we had about – this isn't going to be nothing compared to you. We did have about 2.5 inches of snow one day early in February. So that was interesting to deal with. We actually went out and shoveled it about 3 or 4 times that day alone because we were just going out in shifts at that point, trying to keep it off the driveway and stuff. And we had maybe 3 or 4 other storms where it was 5+ inches. So it wasn't like we were getting killed all in one, but we did have one major snowstorm. And then after that, we just got a lot coming back. I'd actually go up and shovel off our deck here because we were a little worried the deck might collapse with all the snow on it. But now we got to get into the big issues here. Because I said we could cut Steven Nelson, that would help, cut David Castro, cut Joe Hayden. There's all possibilities like that. The big thing we could really do is find a way to extend and alter Ben Roethlisberger's contract. Because you don't want to go trading any of these guys because it's just going to hurt you. You're going to lose money. It's not going to help you in any way. The only way that you get help immediately here is cutting any of them, which I said I don't want to do with these guys. Besides for Ben Roethlisberger, I'd be open to doing that. Or we have to extend Ben and kind of kick the ball back significantly in the other direction. So if we extend him for 2 years, we're going to have to break up this base salary to some extent so that's not going to kill us every single year. But if I'm trying to figure out, I forget if the base salary is the big issue or it's the roster bonus that will be the biggest impact here. Say we just make it, let's make it $20 million every year. I might be doing this wrong. I'll have to look at it later and see if it alters any changes. All right, let's just see about that. Yeah, that didn't help us this year. All right. That's right. The issue is the roster bonus. I think that's what you have to kick back later on into different years when you're working on an extension. Again, this is very finicky. I can do this. I can explain it much better. I'm just looking at stuff. Well, I can't. When you give me a chart like this, it's much more difficult to put this in, plug this in, and kind of work out the contract numbers here. But hypothetically, you can take this roster bonus back, split it up, and he'll still get most of his money at some point, but he won't get it all in one season alone, which is a big thing here. You can't have it all coming together in 1 year. If that happens, you're just screwed. There's nothing you can do if you have to pay him that much money because you get that 47 or 40-something million cap hit that you see so often referenced in places like ESPN with all that kind of money that he'll make just this year. This is annoying. Because I know there's a way to do this right where it saves Pittsburgh a lot of money, but I'm trying to figure it out. I should have done a little bit more to figure this out before getting on live, but I do know for a fact there are ways to extend it and then break it down so it works differently. The signing bonus is probably the big issue. If we split the signing bonus up over a lot and cut down the roster bonus size, we can make a lot more. Let's move the roster bonus back to here and give them a lot of money in signing bonus. We can say signing bonus $10 million, I think. And it will hopefully, I think, pan out so we're actually saving money this way. Yeah. So that's the issue. So you have to cut down / that immediate base salary, and see we're now almost $6 million over the cap at this, under the cap at this point. So you have to slash that base salary for this year, and you can make the base salary almost whatever you want going forward. Because presumably this will probably be his last year. I can't imagine a world in where he comes back and plays in 2022. He'll barely get back and play. It is a problem. So I can't imagine him playing 2022. That'd be a nightmare. But you make the base salary for those years, whatever numbers you want, and you can put in whatever guarantees you want for those years. You take that signing bonus he has this year, which is, I think it said $15 million, I believe, and you break that up over the next 3 years or so. And then because you reduce the base salary so much, you put in something that makes, I forget the numbers now, but let me look at it. Let me just plug this in. Let me say we're going to extend here just so I can see the format again. So the signing bonus, all right, sorry, I screwed up the wording. The roster bonus is what you divide over the next 3 years, and you're extending it for 2 more years. This base salary, you reduce significantly this year, and you will have a reduced rate in the next 2 years as well. The signing bonus, which gets distributed every year, so you get a fraction of it every year. So if it's a $9 million signing bonus and you sign for 3 years, you get $3 million of it each year. But then when you retire or when you are cut on your current contract, that signing bonus all goes into 1 year. So if Ben, say, had a $9 million signing bonus for this year, and Pittsburgh cut him, he'd get all $9 million of that signing bonus this year, and that would be dead cap money. You can't use that at all. So you'd probably actually lose money by cutting him if he had a significant signing bonus for this year. But signing bonus is money. He's basically almost guaranteed to get that money. The thing that you can do to keep that from being a problem, like I said, is build in a lot of years to your contract so that the bonus will be very small in this season, and you'll basically be in win now mode because you're going to take that extra $6 million. If it's a $9 million signing bonus, he'll make $3 million this year. And if he's cut, or if he retires before the start of the 2022 season, he's going to get that $6 million, all of that, in one bundle there, and that will kind of gets the cap. So essentially, this is a 1 year bargain kind of thing where you're going to buy yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room for 1 year, and then after that, you're still going to have to take that hit. It's unavoidable. You're going to take a hit. It's going to happen at some point, but you can push it back a little bit further and maybe make the playoffs again. I think the biggest issue here with Pittsburgh, and maybe you'll agree with me on this, Gio, is that they don't have the offense right now. I mean, Ben, by the end of last season, was not throwing the ball downfield consistently, 20 yards downfield and hitting these routes. And guys like Chase Claypool, he specializes in going deep. And even Deontay Johnson, he can go deep as well. You just didn't get to see a lot of that. Juju Smith-Schuster during his first couple of years was very good at going vertical and helping out downfield as well. And instead, he ended up with like 97 or something receptions this year because you were throwing these short balls that are traveling 5 yards in the air and hoping Juju could dive forward for maybe another 4 yards every now and then. That's why Juju had 97 receptions this year. But he was only averaging 8.6 yards per reception because, like I said, it's all the short slants, all these short plays. And that just won't fly. I mean, defenses figured it out by the end of the season. Now, a lot of these offenses that are winning or getting teams into the playoffs, look at Buffalo, look at Seattle. Maybe Seattle's not the best example. Kansas City. Even the Bucs and Tom Brady, they could push the ball downfield whenever they want to. I mean, they have quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady, even at this age, was not afraid to go deep and not afraid to throw it deep and try to hit Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. So that's an issue there for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh can't do that right now. They can't consistently do that on a play-by-play basis, which is why you have this issue and all this controversy with the potential of Ben coming back, which looks like it's going to happen so long as he does something to mitigate his hit on the salary cap right now. So right now, cap hit's going to be over $40 million. And with the way we did this, the way we extended him, we reduced it to about $30.5 million, which is not as much as you can reduce it. I think at most it goes down by $20 million, I believe. So there'll be extra room available if Ben agrees to make the maximum amount of changes possible to reduce his hit on the cap. There's no guarantee that's going to happen. If he wants to be on the roster, though, I think he's going to have to agree to do something like that. Because otherwise, if I'm Pittsburgh and Ben's not playing ball, just say, look, we're going to cut you. And if we cut him, realistically, how many teams are going to sign Ben Roethlisberger this offseason and give him more money than what he could get if he reduces his salary for this year? No one's going to sign Ben to a $20 million contract for one season. It's not happening. He's got less left in his arm in this game than Philip Rivers did last year when he signed with the Colts. So I don't think there's any way Ben will benefit from not agreeing to do the maximum amount of changes to help out the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he has to. And if he doesn't, like I said, Pittsburgh, Andy Dalton, you can get Andy Dalton for, if you get Andy Dalton for $7 million, and you can undo this extension then for Ben, and you say Andy Dalton, you agree to deal with him for $7 or $8 million for 1 year, or 2 years, $20 million, so $10 million a year. You can cut Ben, and that gives you cap room still. And you'll have to probably extend Joe Hayden or Steven Nelson or DeCastro, and you'll want to extend Watt eventually, but that will all add up. You'll create some extra space out of all of that. And then you will probably only have maybe somewhere between $10 to $14 million in cap room max. It's probably the best outcome for Pittsburgh this offseason. That's maybe enough to get, like I said, Andy Dalton or someone like that, to maybe re-sign Mike Tomlin, which I would think would be a huge priority. Maybe get Matt Filer back. You can sign your rookie draft class, but you're just not going to have a lot of money to be significant players here. Like your biggest issue here, Pittsburgh, this year is damage control. Try to keep as many guys as you possibly can from this free agent class. Not going to get Bud Dupree back unless the injury significantly affects his market. I'm sure someone will overpay for him. You're not going to get Avery Williamson back, although his market might be pretty low because he's not great in coverage. Mike Hilton, like I said, has to be the target for me. And if you're not going to get Mike Hilton back, because for whatever reason he's going to get paid a lot, then you have to get Cam Sutton back. You have to get one of those two. And I would try to go after Zach Banner as well, because based on how, like I said, you're losing Phil in a way, the right tackle is not very good. So I would just try to get I'd try to get Zach Banner back, considering what he's meant to the team and how long he's been with Pittsburgh. I think bring him back and see what he can do next year. But we'll wrap it up here. We've been going in for a little over 20 minutes. This is a bit of a shorter stream, but I want to do this a little more consistently because, one, it is shorter, and two, it means I can consistently produce some kind of content for this YouTube channel. So thank you, Gio, for stopping by. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by. And hopefully I'll see you around maybe sometime this weekend with another bit of a salary cap fixer-upper. But thanks, guys. I'll see you around.